Cool Cats and Kittens. I'm Teresa.
And I'm Scott, and you may know us from such shows as Get Your Cook On with Teresa and Scott. Big thanks for last week, those of you who watched. We got 29 comments and 60 plus ones, so really happy with that. This is going to be episode 2, and in episode 2 we shall be cooking
Classic eclairs, because we had some requests this week for something sweet. Marty, Natalie, that's you, so we're making eclairs for you.
So as always, we like to get all our ingredients set up beforehand, and today's recipe is cooked in 3 main parts. Here we've got the ingredients for the choux pastry that becomes your eclair bun. Then we've got the ingredients for the crème pâte, or the custard, which is the filling in the buns. And then finally for the chocolate ganache that goes on top of the buns. The first stage is to make the custard. So in a saucepan, combine your milk with your double cream and bring that to the boil.
So the next stage of the custard is to combine the sugar, the egg yolks and the vanilla extract and mix that together. And then we'll gradually, a couple of teaspoons at a time, add the corn flour and the flour to form a smooth paste.
Once your milk has almost started to boil, whisk it in to the paste that you made earlier, stirring constantly. Once it's all combined, pop it back into the saucepan and then pop it on a high heat, stirring it constantly again for approximately 5 minutes. Now at this stage it probably will start to go lumpy, don't worry about that, but you do need to make sure you keep stirring vigorously, preferably with a wooden spoon. So after your 5 minutes of vigorous constant stirring, it's really thickened up, as you can see. So just pop it into a bowl. Get out as much as you can, it's too good to waste. And then pop a sheet of cling film just over the surface. This prevents skin forming on the custard. Nobody likes skin on the custard, very much like pink chicken. And set that aside to cool, and that is your crème pâte made.
So we're just about to move on to making the choux buns. So Scott is just about to sift flour, sugar and salt into a bowl to make sure we get out any lumps. We have got our oven preheating at 200 degrees fan, and while that's heating up, other temperatures will be at the bottom of the screen. We're just adding our water and butter to a pan to slowly melt. Right, so now that our butter is melted into our water and our milk, we are now bringing it to a rolling boil, taking it off the heat and adding in our flour. And this is a bit where you need muscles, because you just have to beat until it's a smooth paste and it comes away from the sides of the pan. So that's the mixture now beaten into a smooth paste. We're now just pouring that onto a dinner plate to allow it to cool down before we incorporate the eggs in the next step. Right, so now our choux pastry has cooled to hand temperature. We're going to add it back into the pot. And then we're going to gradually add in the eggs until we get to a consistency where it's reluctantly dropping off of the spoon. You don't want to add your eggs if it's not needed. So Scott's been stirring away and we're now at the consistency where it's reluctantly falling. So it doesn't really want to, but it does.
So on your baking paper, draw out some sets of tram lines. We're doing this on 2 baking trays. There'll be approximately 12 eclairs on each tray. Once you've drawn your lines, flip over the paper. You'll still be able to see them, but this will prevent any of the ink getting into your choux buns as they bake. Teresa's now going to start piping. You want a steady S-shaped pipe, and just continue until you fill that sheet, leaving a decent gap between them. You should get 12 on a standard size baking tray. Once you've piped them where you have come off the piping at the end, there will be a small nipple, I suppose that's what they are, at the end of each bun. Just wet your finger with a bit of water and just damp down the nipple. That's going to stop them getting overbaked, because they will take before the rest of the bun will. So that's what you do with your nipples. Once your buns have had 25 minutes in the oven, take them out. I'd be using an oven glove. Someone has an aversion to oven gloves as her hands are so tiny. Take each bun, poke a hole in the end, and then turn the bun upside down. This just allows the moisture inside them to escape to give a nice crispy bun. And once we've poked holes in all of them, they go back in the oven for a further 5 minutes. Once they've had that final 5 minutes, just remove them from the oven and pop them onto a cooling rack and let them cool down. Further cooling, we will now move on to making the frosting.
So we're just away to make our chocolate ganache for the top of the eclairs. So we're just away to heat our cream, sugar, and vanilla extract. And we're going to heat that until boiling point. So now we're just taking the milk, pouring it over the dark chocolate. I have managed to refrain from eating any of it. And we're just going to leave that sitting there for 2 or 3 minutes until it melts the chocolate through. So now that the chocolate has sat in the hot cream, we're just going to stir it and add the butter in until it goes nice and smooth and glossy. Lovely jolly.
So we've now filled the piping bag with the creme pat, and that gets popped into the top of the eclair, and just squeeze it until you start to feel the bun getting heavier on that side, and then move on to the other side and do the same. This does put holes in the top of the buns, but they will be covered when they are glazed with the chocolate at the next stage. So once you've filled the buns, just dip them into your ganache. Just ensure the chocolate's evenly spread across the top. Pop them all back on the baking tray and just let the ganache cool down a bit. So that's our classic chocolate eclairs. Thanks everyone for watching. We hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we will enjoy eating them. If you did, then +1s and lots of comments, and we'll see you next week for episode 3. Any requests, pop them in the comments. Thank you. Bye. Bye. Yeah.
Hey all you cool cats and kittens. Hey all you cool cats and kittens. Hey all you cool cats and kittens, and welcome to the McJoe Show. Hey all you cool cats and kittens, I'm Teresa.
And I'm Scott, and you may know us from such shows as So as with last week, we like to get out. So as always, we like to get all our ingredients set up beforehand. Today's in cook. So once you've filled them all, get your ganache, dip the eclair in. Just a little dip if you don't like a lot of chocolate, or as deep as you like, if that's how you like it. Would you like some chocolate?
Yes, please. Do you want some chocolate?
Yes, please. Yeah, let's do that again.